Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Slant 3D podcast, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today, we're going to be talking about 3D printed submarines, 3D printed data centers, 3D printed robots, and 3D printed heat exchangers. And at the end of it all, we're going to go ahead and talk about a number of updates to Teleport, talking about Smarter Every Day, just a hair, and then going into NDAs and what I happen to be taking. But before that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by Teleport. Teleport is our print-on-demand app that allows anyone to get access to our giant print farms completely for free. So if you are looking to create a 3D printing business and scale up your ideas or your product or your design, you can now sell it without having to operate your own 3D print farm. All you have to do is upload the file, match it to a listing on Etsy, Shopify, Amazon, your marketplace of choice. And then whenever you get an order, we will print the item and ship it directly to your customer for you. All of our factories are based inside the USA, and we are able to produce and ship items in 2 to 5 business days so that you can grow your business without having to worry about packing boxes and running print farms. So go ahead and check out Teleport today over at slantpod.com. That's slantpod.com. Okay, moving into the news. Piece of news number one. We have a lot of news today, guys, which is actually kind of exciting. A whole bunch of stuff dropped. A couple of them are corporate announcements, but I don't care. It's still cool stuff. Alloy Enterprises unveils 3D printed copper cooling for AI data centers. So, Boston-based Alloy Enterprises has unveiled a new line of copper direct liquid cooling components designed to help data centers slash energy use, cut cost, and eliminate the need for traditional heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. At the heart of it is their proprietary stack forging process, a method born from additive manufacturing. The announcement marks a major expansion for Alloy Enterprises, which has already developed aluminum-based cooling hardware using its forging process. And what makes Alloy Enterprises' solution unique is how it's made. The company's patented stack forging process combines the design freedom of 3D printing with the strength and precision of traditional manufacturing. This also reduces the need for large pumps and chillers and enables lower... Okay, so 3D printed heat exchangers, very useful inside of data centers. Facebook has been working on this for a long time. This is a really high value area because cooling is probably one of the primary constrictions around data centers, always. And while you can just put an aluminum brick alongside of that, there's not necessarily a pure heat exchange. So a good heat exchanger has basically infinite surface area for the working fluid to flow over so that any heat is immediately absorbed into that fluid and has time to absorb into that fluid so it can be carried away from the chip. 3D printing is really good at this because 3D printing is able to create very complex structures that have as close as you can get practically to an infinite surface area. So they have huge value there. And data centers have no budget constraint. When the rack itself costs 50 grand, you don't care if the heat exchanger costs $500 to $1,000 for the aluminum part because it'll allow that chip to just get more utility out of it, more useful life out of it. So of the places where 3D printing has unlimited room to run, and quite frankly, is able to be rougher in a certain sort of way. The interior of the heat exchanger does not have to be 100% pure. Not all the channels have to allow water to flow. It's better if they do, but they can be inefficient because they are so much more efficient than the alternative. A bunch of flat plates machined from aluminum or something. 3D printing is just a much better way of creating heat exchangers. And this theme is going to come up today because there's multiple other stories about this. But data centers have really high margins. 3D printing creates a radical improvement in heat exchange rates, and you are able to deal with kind of less than optimal technology because you're not having to create a perfect type of a part. Imperfections are allowed to exist because you're just moving a working fluid over a thing. Now, those imperfections cannot be large because you don't want a hot spot on your chip or somewhere in your system, but they can be small and intermittent and won't cause a big old issue because it's a metal part. It'll move the heat around itself just fine. So it's just really cool to see this, and I'm still amazed that it hasn't ramped up and that this wasn't something that Desktop Metal really harped on. I think the reason for it is that Desktop Metal was interested in making the machines and was not necessarily as interested in application development. They did introduce copper, which was anytime copper is released, it's a direct reaction to heat exchangers and data centers and electronics. But 3D printing makes fantastic heat exchangers. Should we see more of it? It is a hugely valuable market segment and can go for a long way. It's tough to get something really differentiable though, because everybody knows the algorithm for creating a heat exchanger with infinite surface area. It's a standard sort of pattern. I think it's basically gyroid infill. It's effectively gyroid infill. That everybody in the heat exchangers are going to hate me for saying that, but it's basically gyroid infill. Okay. Next piece of news. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I'm checking a number of things. DARPA backs research project to speed up qualification of DoD's 3D printed parts. All of these stories today are per 3dprint.com. About a year ago, DARPA announced a funding opportunity called SURGE, Structures Uniquely Resolved to Guarantee Endurance. As with so much of what DARPA, or the DoD, is focused on when it comes to additive manufacturing, the project is to accelerate and cheapen the process of qualifying printed parts. It announced the recipients of a $10.3 million 4-year grant, which includes large research universities. One recipient, Texas A&M University, received $1.6 million. Researchers, the research is to yield substantial cost savings for DoD AM efforts, in turn speeding up adoption rates. Another member of the grant team, Texas A&M head of the Department of Materials Science, Dr. Karaman, said, "This DARPA project is particularly exciting for us because it represents a unique opportunity to," yes, it's a big challenge. I'm trying to get to the point of what they're actually going to do. Associated with scaling up AM, but also aligns rather closely with a number of AM projects that the U.S. military has publicly revealed lately. This suggests that a broader, coherent... The U.S. military is trying to 3D print a bunch of parts, but they need to get them qualified faster, so they're paying research universities to figure out ways of doing that in an objective and repeatable way. That is the summary of this article. I was hoping somebody would get to that on their own, but it wasn't there. So... $10.3 million going out to qualifying AM inside of the U.S. military. For reference, we recently discussed how the German military had wasted $30 million on 3D printing, but the U.S. military literally just spent $10 million on starting to qualify 3D printing. So that helps to put that past story in context. This is fine. This is dandy. I don't know what the research direction is. University research is interesting because it's heavily undirected and kind of unintentional. It can stumble into stuff that is really good and can do really good deep research because it's undirected, but when it's also not intentional, there aren't like core goals, or you don't know when it's hit and money can just disappear into the ether. So I have no idea how effective this will be or what it's looking at, whether they're looking at toilet seats or aerospace engine parts. It's ambiguous. And the way of qualifying the parts is to run them through the existing testing. Get an old part, test it to its limits in the XYZ axis, and then compare the 3D printed part. But that's an oversimplification. Glad they're working on it. Have no idea where that will end up. Okay, from this next article is fully bought and paid for. It is a sponsored article by HP. HP makes multi-jet fusion. This is an article about Framework Robotics, which has HP multi-jet 3D printed parts on their ROV, remote operated vehicle, underwater remote operated vehicle. UUVs, all the things, everybody fights about it. The Framework robot is one of those kind of traditional drop off a ship. It looks like a box and it's got an arm coming off the front, robot submarines, submersibles. Oh my goodness, I'm going to get in so much trouble from all the geometry Nazis today. But this submersible, this remote submersible, allows Framework to really quickly add on default sort of hardware. So the examples that are given are like the handles on top of the robot, some of the brackets, camera mounts, that kind of thing. Because HP is able to print inside of nylon, and nylon is reasonably ocean resistant. And it has a lot of other applications. This is a sponsored post, but I wanted to highlight it because it is useful. Framework Robotics. Robotics is one of the most expensive hardware development products that you can possibly create. 3D printing helps tremendously because rather than having to tool up for the 200 different parts inside of a robot, you just get a 3D printer and pretty much all of it is fine, and you beef up the parts and pieces. This is why the vast majority of robots that you will run into will have some 3D printed part in it someplace. So yeah, but anyway, cool story, cool demonstration. I would recommend looking up Framework Robotics to see their bots in action. It's a submersible, it's a floating box with an arm sticking out the front, which all of those guys, I am wildly underselling how tough it is to make a remote operated undersea vehicle. It's wildly abusive and wildly difficult to do that. You have this thing that's meant to be mobile that has to carry a tether along with it, also has to have an arm, it has to have very low latency. You're in seawater, which is terribly corrosive, and you're operating at high depths. You have leaks all over the place. It's hard to build one of these things. But it looks like a box with an arm on it. But it's cool, yes, and using 3D printing is terribly helpful on that, and it should be highlighted and appreciated. But they make the robots, they're for exploration, very often used for oil rig maintenance and that kind of stuff too, because that's where the money is that can afford these things. Okay, next article, Conflux Technologies 3D printed heat exchangers on board the Pagani Utopia. Italian fine car manufacturer Pagani is... I feel like I'm anglicizing that. Is that Pagani? I don't know my supercars that well outside of the other ones. I'm going to keep on saying Pagani. I apologize. Is to work with Conflux Technology, putting its 3D printed heat exchangers on board the Utopia. The Utopia Roadster starts at over $2 million, while the Coupe is $3.4 million. Midway between a work of art and an automobile, the Utopia has a V12 powered 6-liter Mercedes AMG engine and a 7-speed X-Track gearbox. Production will be limited to 100 Roadsters and 130 Coupes. So Conflux won't sell a lot of AM heat exchangers this way. However, Pagani is wildly followed, and with exquisite attention to detail and engineering, it has a considerable following. Conflux developed a custom heat exchanger. The 3D printed one is 30% more efficient than a traditional model, according to Conflux CEO Michael Fuller. This is a heat exchanger. 3D printing, really good at this. You have infinite surface area. You can move a lot of air over that in order to move the heat around where you want it to be. It gets to go into a supercar. Nobody cares about the cost of it. They're not going to sell a lot of these. They're going to sell 230 of these. Which... at like probably I don't know how much they're charging for it. Actually, I really don't know. It's probably about $5,000. No, it's not five. Yeah, it might be $5,000 a pop. I don't know. There's a lot of very custom machined parts inside of one of those cars. $5,000 might be too much even for one of those things. But anyhow, I generally don't like talking about these applications because they are so low volume and so traditional 3D printing. They're not demonstration of the industry maturing. They're the moving forward. They're a demonstration of the industry maturing in that it's not moving anywhere. We have been doing this type of stuff for over a decade. If it was going into a Camry, that'd be interesting. A Camry doesn't need that kind of... This is always the question with 3D printing. Like, we cracked mass production and worked on mass production long before everybody else was doing it. This is a chicken and egg problem that 3D printing is in. We can do it cost effectively at scale, making 1 million parts, but you need an order for 1 million parts. But you're not going to get the order for 1 million parts until you can make 1 million parts. I've never understood this problem because if a client comes to you and says, hey, I need 1 million parts, the math is very simple to verify that you can actually do that if they make the order. Where that starts to break down is they won't make the order until you qualify it, which means you need to do a production run of 1,000 parts, and then they're in a hurry, and you have to go through qualification of all of that, and that's where it can break down and grind to a halt because you get into kind of a production hell scenario where people start to get nervous as opposed to committing to it. So very few people have committed to it. Yeah, mass production is hard because if Conflux agreed to do a heat exchanger for the Camry, then they would be being restricting themselves to very stringent timelines and very stringent cost factors that are actually declining. Volume is great, but your margins decrease. But even though your margins decrease, the overall sales are larger, so you actually make the same amount of money. But when a 3D printing company is presented with that of making $1 million by selling 100 parts or making $1 million by selling 10,000 parts, they always opt for the 100 parts. I don't really believe in that because I think that's wrong because it doesn't move the industry forward. It pays your bills and you make $1 million. But making 10,000 of them and still making $1 million actually puts you in a position to then move beyond that. These little one-offer jobs are few and far between and very high risk. So I don't much care for them because they don't lead to anything. They're a demonstration, they feel good, but they're not sustaining because you're not actually joining real production. Okay, hot dog, that's the news. All right. Hold on, let me get the timestamp in. Company updates, Teleport. Okay, so Teleport is going, a number of updates on Teleport. We did a fourth release on Slicer here literally this last week. We had a big release last fall. We had a big release this spring. We had a big release about 2 months ago, about 6 weeks ago. We had a big release this month. Hopefully you are identifying the trend on that. The primary slicer for Teleport is evolving very quickly as we get the bones built stronger. And when the bones are stronger, you can do more stuff on it. And the team's been working on this. So we have basically the two avenues of Slant 3D are internal software, which is Kraken and our production software, and then Teleport, which is our externally facing software and bleeds up into the API. Kraken has been getting a lot of love lately because as Teleport has been scaling up, we've had to rebuild that system. There will be some really cool demo videos coming out here in the next few weeks showing like the production process of parts, because our qualification and tracking of parts is wildly beyond what other print farms do by miles. So things like just part tracking and calibration and stuff. And we've had plenty of issues with this as we've been deploying the software because software has bugs. But the fact that a part is known where it is all the way through the process, from machine to processing to storage to shipping, that entire order system is fully built out and works, is terribly useful. Basically, people barcode scanning throughout the entire process. That was going back to Slicer. We updated Slicer. So the Slicer has just been iterating on stuff and narrowing in on the long tails. So a lot of the learnings over the last 6 months of Teleport have allowed us to basically put together a laundry list of things that we wanted to do with the slicing system. And now we're turning that loose. And it's going to continue to accelerate. Here, probably in about like 3 more weeks, we will have almost daily updates to slicing parameters. So print quality will continue to evolve very quickly. I mean, right now we ship 100 to 1,000 parts per day, which is a lot of parts. And people are really happy with them. 99% of people are fine with all the parts that we ship out. But we can push that further. And those are of the existing users on Teleport. New users might have run into some sort of challenge or inability that they wanted to hit on. So we want to continue to evolve that to just hit as much as we possibly can. That is not the same as adding more features. It is creating more robustness, making the system more stable with the high variability of goods that come in. This is the giant challenge of print farms. People can send you anything, and while 3D printers theoretically can make anything, they require certain tuning to that particular stuff. There's a reason the only real successful 3D print farms out there are making effectively a single product. Slant 3D is the only large print farm service that operates as flexibly as we do, without like manual approval and that kind of stuff, and still operate at the scale that we do. All that is to say, Slicer getting more better. We make a lot of parts. We want to make a lot more. That's the summary of that. With that, though, a thing we didn't talk about last week when we were talking about teleport and like the continuing evolution of it, we're working on putting together more kind of third-party verification of teleport to make sure that we have faster feedback cycles. We want to effectively build a secret shopper network. But I don't want it to be a network. I want it to be public, and I don't want it to be like corralled by us. I would love it if there are any content creators, people who make video or written content, who are interested in being a secret shopper on teleport, buying a part, giving your review, and we can't sponsor you because that is us putting the thumb on a scale, but we'll pay you back for the parts, I guess. How would that even work? That is the weird thing. We can technically hire people to be secret shoppers for us, but they're biased. And if we're doing that, it might as well just be us running our own parts through, which we do. We constantly iterate on stuff. But we want more external stuff, and we also want it to be very public so people know that we're actually doing this. We want the evaluation to be unimpeachable. So a secret shopper network. If someone is interested in that, please comment down below. We'll try to get in touch with you when we iron out the details of how to get that done. Okay. With Slicer Update, this Slicer Update, that tees us up for a few key features releasing to teleport around Slicer. I'm not going to talk about them right now, but there should be some toggles showing up inside of print settings inside of teleport, so long as we do not overcomplicate the matching and preparation process. Okay. Let's see. Moving on to the next thing, Tangled. Oh, one more update with teleport. Here on podcast, we're going to start bringing... Actually, I'll come back to that. I'll come back to media in just a second. Tangled. So, not really a big update on Tangled. A bunch of people bought a whole bunch of print farm spools, got us behind again. We're working to get those orders out. Here's the rule, guys. Like right now, if you buy more than 5 spools of Tangled filament, you're going to have a longer lead time because we're trying to keep it available for normal folks. So single order spools go out first. Member single order spools go out first, then member multi-part spools go out next, and then non-member spools ship last. All of that is not good. The shipping time on Tangled has been the bane of our existence because we've tried to manage the supply and demand and all the rest of it, but we're also held up by machinery. We've had multiple machine delays. We have a new spooling machine that should be showing up literally in like the next week or so. I'm going to say 1 to 2 weeks. But that will allow effectively 5-day continuous operation. So 5 days, 24 hours, continuous through the week producing filament. That will get us caught up. We've also had just a really large demand spike in teleport, so the whole team's been over there making sure parts go out on time. But Tangled will get caught up eventually. But it's $10 filament. It's one of the trade-offs for it right now. The main thing with Tangled is that it gets better, and it's at least getting better. Have you seen the new graphics on the Tangled website? I'm so happy with the new graphics on the website. I wish I had them around. But I'm very proud of this. It's a very simple thing, but literally just the product listings are a colored dot. A big colored dot is a 3 kg spool, and 3 colored dots are 1 kg spools, and the dots are the color of the filament. That is getting rolled out across all the different filaments, and it looks really good. It makes it really easy to shop. And it also makes it way easier for our team shipping orders because it's a really nice graphic. I could talk about those 3 dots all day long because it's something I've been wanting on Tangled for a long time. And it's this tiny little change that just improves the experience so much. But now we got to ship stuff on time because we're really slow on shipping over at Tangled. And I want to get it back down to 2 days where it used to be. But it's just getting caught up with the demand over there. And the demand of everything else. This is the thing. Like the team is not growing fast enough for the stuff we got going on. And Tangled has always been the redheaded stepchild. It is the side project inside of Slant 3D, so it cannot have primary attention. But when we have time, we push on it as much as we can. Because it is hilarious. We've had Tangled out and operational and the master plan visible of how to get it done for the last 1.5 years. and we still have no competition because no one can. It's completely non-cost effective for another US manufacturer to do filament at the pricing that we do it. So yeah, the efficiency of Tangled is unrivaled to date, and no one else wants to rival it because they're doing fine, and they feel okay about it because Tangled is only making black for now. We're working on expanding the Tangled membership. We're trying to get with other manufacturers to bring some of their specialty materials into the membership at discounted rates. We're trying to do that in partnership with manufacturers so they can get access to the Tangled subscriber base. But it looks like we may just have to do it ourselves and buy it wholesale and retail it through Tangled. I don't want to do that because I'm tired of carrying the torch on these types of projects. It would be great if someone wants to help. So if you are a filament manufacturer with a unique material that you think would be great on Tangled, the audience on Tangled are fairly highly technical 3D printing enthusiasts who are looking for affordable materials, but good quality materials. A lot of print farms, that kind of stuff. If you are interested in selling a reasonable and good quality product to that group, let us know, and we would love to add you to the member store so that people can get discounted access to your material and benefit from it and find something new that they hadn't seen before. So we're working on that kind of stuff. Okay, media updates. Wow, this is going to be a long podcast, guys. Remember when podcasts were like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then we shut them all down? And then somehow in the last 4 months, they became an hour. I miss the good old days. Media. Content over the next few weeks. The content team has expanded recently, so there will be a lot more stuff coming out. Most of it will be over at the Slant POD channel, talking about 3D printing business and drop shipping and that kind of stuff. Comment down below if there's particular topics around that you want to understand. I don't really want to talk about Shopify versus Etsy. I think everybody has done that to death, to where you can ask that question and it is answered 100 times over. What we want to do with the Slant POD channel is do kind of deep dive business stuff, but also leverage our knowledge of print farms to talk about the business models in more detail. So that is the goal with that. And there will be a lot of content coming out. Slant POD is kind of in the early Slant 3D stage, to where we're just throwing out a lot of stuff and testing a lot of things. It's fun to be over there because there's a lot of experimentation, and there's been very good content come out of it, but it's been very roughly hewn. We're going to refine that. On this channel, what we want to do on podcast here is, over the next few weeks, we will probably have guests on who are internal team members. So like Everett, our lead developer, and Chris, our media lead, will probably be coming on, and we'll be chatting about, software and media. We'd like to share kind of behind the curtain how we think about content, because we're a content marketing company, and talk through the software stack and what we've been doing on it for the last 6 months or so. So that everybody can get a look at who's around and get it around. Here's the problem. You guys have to watch those shows, though, because every time in the past when we have brought on a guest, those have been the worst performing podcasts. Not my fault. I tried. You guys, I don't know what the problem is. We explicitly brought on people who we thought were famous and people would care about, and they tank our views, regardless of who it is. Travis from Shop Nation, if you're watching, wasn't a good show, even though it was a really good show. From content standpoints, I love the interviews that we've done on the podcast. We did Paul Powers, who was the CEO of Fizna, who owned Things. We did Travis over at Shop Nation, who does really good stuff. It was a lot of fun to do those interviews. People just didn't want to watch them or did not want to click on them. So we're going to use our own team as guinea pigs to figure out how to get the guests rolling again. Okay, one other thing on media, we will be doing a video, effectively a reaction video to Destin, Smarter Every Day's video about manufacturing his grill scraper, because it's an excellent video, and I think it is useful to add some more color to it, not from 3D printing, but from manufacturing. And this comes back to media too. The Tangled testing channel will probably be turned into the Tangled channel, and we think we can do a lot more manufacturing education over there. It will be very rough-hewn, very kind of off-the-cuff, low-edit sort of stuff, but quite frankly, that's what people like over there. But like a live reaction to Destin's video, to where we can talk about other ways of making it and give him like a design review and that kind of stuff. Because, by the way, looks like a really great scraper, but there's more that can be done on it. And yes, we're thinking about how we can 3D print some accessory for it, but we haven't figured out anything really good that like full sends it all to where we can improve on what he's got. Because it's a grill scraper and we do plastic stuff. But we do want to do a video around that. Okay. Coming up, 31 minutes in. Okay, 2 discussion topics. Why are NDAs a leading indicator of failure of companies? Oh, I'm going to get in trouble. So, interesting statistic. Slant 3D, we take consumer privacy really seriously. Like literally in the last week or so, people have been asking for information around files and that kind of stuff, and we're just like, no, we don't share anything. We don't film in the farm when machines are running because we cannot risk showing off someone's part in production. People are not allowed to tour the facility because we cannot show off parts in production. We have individual inventors all the way up to Fortune 500 companies running parts off on our machines. That privacy is very, very serious. That all being said, that privacy we maintain and operate on, most of the clients who are operational inside of our facility do not have an NDA with us outside of the terms and conditions when you request a quote or use one of our services that say that, hey, we're going to keep your stuff secret, but we have to look at it. That's effectively what the terms of service says. Clients and customers will reach out with the question, I have this part, will you sign an NDA? For years, we have signed those NDAs. I cannot name a single instance off the top of my head when we signed an NDA and that client became a real client, as in like they passed prototyping stage. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's corporate bureaucracy or just bad thought process, but most of the people who requested NDAs never actually took the leap. So there's that. And the other ones who request the NDAs are just giant monolithic organizations to where closing a deal with them is slow and tedious. I'm not going to look at the giant organizations, but from the individual standpoint, the most successful creators and product manufacturers I've run into have never had me sign an NDA. They just use us. They're like, here's a part, make it, go. They never asked for an NDA ahead of time. Mainly because it's stupid, because they're already selling the product, so they don't need to hide their idea. It's online, it's in their store. It is hilarious when somebody reaches out to us with a store URL in the bottom that shows their product and then they have us sign an NDA about the product. That is hilarious. But an NDA at this point, when I talk to the guys in sales and that kind of stuff, I pretty much tell them, if the client requests an NDA, probably don't need to work with them because it will not go anywhere. Because statistically, it just doesn't go anywhere. My thinking of why this is because an NDA means that you think that your idea is unique and defensible, to where if someone else knows about your idea, they'll run with it and steal it from you. First of all, the NDA does not protect that. Suing someone because they signed an NDA and stole your idea, that protects you. The NDA does not protect you. The only way any agreement, patent, NDA, contract, anything else, the only way those are enforced is if you enforce them, which means filing suit for breach of contract of some sort. People think the NDA is some kind of magical protective document. But I can sign your NDA all day long and then go clone your part if I wanted to, if I was an unethical human. So it really does not give you active protection. But more insidiously is the NDA means that you are not thinking fast enough. If I am able to see the high level of your idea, the conceptual outline of your idea, the current version of your idea, if I can see that and immediately go do it better than you, why are you the expert? You're by definition not the expert. If someone else can do it better than you, you're not the expert. You are not the creator of the best version of that idea. Ideas are stupid cheap. There are ideas all over the place. I can ramp up ChatGPT, give me 10 ideas for back scratchers right now. So the NDA is not a protective mechanism. It's a form of bureaucracy before you've even started a business. It's a form of creating just friction in a relationship, and it's a form of distrust right from the get-go. If you require the NDA, it means you do not trust me to be an ethical operator. You think I'm going to steal your idea, therefore I need to sign that I'm not going to steal your idea. Which, if I was being a fundamental philosopher about that, I would say that's insulting. To presume that I am an unethical human right from the start, when I have been in business longer than you, and operating, and people come back to us and still pay us for stuff. So everything about an NDA is dysfunctional. And ultimately, what many inventors do not realize is that people do not care about your idea until it is successful. China does not rip off your idea. They rip off your idea when you order 100,000 and you sold them on Amazon. Then they rip off your idea because they know it can be sold. When you have a sketch and a patent pending and that kind of stuff, no one on earth cares because no one on earth knows if it will make money. And if we were looking to steal your idea, we're going to let you run with it first and go figure out how to sell it. And then we would go steal your idea. That is how it would be done. So, NDAs are just terribly useless to you. They slow down the process. They prevent you from getting quotes. They create a bad relationship right from the get-go. And from our experience as an organization, they are a leading indicator of failure because no one who has ever requested an NDA has successfully made it to a final project, either due to bureaucracy or anything else. We have not lost the jobs. The projects were not like, oh, we went over here instead. We've done that follow-up to try to find out if that's the thing. No, it's just they're thinking about it. We sign the NDA, we quote them up, we do the prototypes, and then they say, okay, I need to figure out if there's demand for this. I'm going to go work this next year for selling it. Now that I got you teed up for production, I'm going to go try to get it sold. No, go try to get it sold first. And then when you're in a bind, call us and make sure you're ready to jump. That's the way to do it. Go prove sales first, and then go do all the manufacturing prep. Otherwise, you're a entrepreneur who is messing around and finding reasons to analyze if your business will work rather than actually building the business. So if you need an NDA, your idea is too weak, but no one needs an NDA because no one cares about your idea. We got our own stuff to deal with. So don't worry about that. Okay, company questions. I had a preface to this because I saw some of the questions ahead of time, and one of them is funny and will introduce a lot of interesting conversation that I am kind of excited to talk about because it's just funny. Okay, company questions. There was one. Yes, I'm excited for this, guys. I am legitimately quite excited for this. Okay. Oh, I don't care about all your notifications. They're on my face. Okay. Question. You were talking about detecting batch printing by telling if an STL has multiple bodies. Have you considered that print-in-place models have multiple bodies but need to be printed as one part? Is this an issue, and how will you solve it? That's a very good question. The simplest way of solving it, the largest width way of solving it, it's not perfect, but it gets a lot of it, is by counting the number of bodies on the build plate. That generally indicates a batch. If there's multiple things that all have their foundation on the build plate, those are individual separate parts. Most print-in-place mechanisms and designs basically have parts stacked on top of each other. So like there's a base plate and then the gears on top and those spin around and that kind of thing. But you are right. There are plenty of loopholes to that, to where a planetary gear can just be printed flat down on the bed and create all kinds of problems. That is reasonable. The early rough-hewn solution is to basically measure the distance of bodies from the build plate. And if they're not touching the build plate, then we don't count those as separate bodies. Those are part of the print-in-place mechanism. But you're right, this is an issue. That is a decision, and how we deal with that will kind of be a reverse analysis of how many of those types of parts are made, like how many print-in-place gear planetary boxes are there, and do we need to modify it in order to adjust for that number of parts being produced. We will also mess with the pricing algorithm, so it's not like $5 for each individual part, so that it doesn't get away. We have multiple ceilings inside of pricing to make sure that a part can't get away in cost and be $500, because we never want anyone to upload a part and have it cost $500. That's an immediately bad experience and sets a bad precedent about what 3D printing can do. So even when it's not cost effective for us, we have a ceiling on what the cost of a print can be, and it bites us often. But this is a very astute edge case that we need to deal with. The first solution is just measuring, is the part on the build plate or is it above the build plate? If it's above the build plate, it's part of the same body and same print, and it's not a batch of parts. And that will catch most of it. But we can push that even further, and we can even do like, there's a lot of things that can be measured to suss this out. How big is the part? How far away is it from the build plate? Oh, well, it's this big and it's 5 inches off the build plate. That's probably a gear sitting in the middle of everything. Oh, it's this big, it's down there, and there's 5 other ones directly in a row from it. Oh, that sounds like a batch. Or there are 5 identical build volume units, bounding box units next to each other. Oh, that's probably a batch of 5 pieces all lined up alongside each other. There's a lot of ways of doing that. So yeah, that algorithm we're effectively percolating on right now. The implementation on it, we actually need to beef up our part analysis engine within the API in order to deal with that more better. Right now, we're just printing batches and dealing with the fallout from it, of which there is plenty. Question, how did the Telegram teleport? Spelled Telegram. It is not Telegram. The app is called Teleport. Sorry to be touchy about that, but it's Teleport. Promotion go during the past month. How many Telegram shops were opened, and what percentage did the 1% hit the 1,000 threshold for the payout? Yeah, following up on the prize. The prize went really well. We don't know how many of the stats we're going to release because, again, customer privacy. We would love to do a leaderboard of like the top 5 guys in that competition, because that's just a really good demo. People hit it. People were able to get to 1,000 sales in the technically 60 days that you had there. A couple people were able to get darn close and pass it up there in the 30 days. We're going to do it again. That's kind of the long and short of it. It worked well. As far as to how fast Teleport is growing, Teleport grows about 1% a day. So right now there's several thousand users on it. I've mentioned multiple times before, we do about up to about 1,000 parts per day on Teleport. This last week we had a big old surge. We had one user who had a video get 10 million views on TikTok, and that converts into a reasonable number of sales. To where if he had just a small little print farm, he wouldn't have been able to address it. And on TikTok, when you get a large number of sales, you have to fulfill them in a certain time period. Otherwise, those sales start getting canceled. So being able to immediately turn on a giant print farm to support you is a really big deal, because you're able to scale instantly and then scale back down to your independent print farm. It's a really, really good use case for Teleport. But yeah, we'll talk more about prize in the future and that kind of stuff once it's all settled out, because it finished up, well, a week and a half ago or something like that. And how we want to present it in a way that's fair and doesn't give away people's proprietary information. We're trying to figure out how to let more teleport users share their stuff, because we've reached out to a number of the power users and we're like, hey, can we talk about your store and your product? And they're like, we'd rather not, because we don't want a bunch of 3D printing people to create a bunch of competition on Etsy around the stuff that we sell, which is fair and reasonable. My philosophy on that competition is, I don't think the competition is as big of a deal as people realize, because there's a lot of demand out there, but I understand it. I do understand that concern. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I do understand it. Okay, question. What's the timeline on PETG for Tangled or Teleport? Haven't come up with a design yet that I feel comfortable with selling in PLA, but some are fine in PETG and testing. Teleport has PETG. Teleport has had PETG since launch. Black PETG. So it is available. On Tangled, we thought we were going to get PETG released on Tangled, actually in partnership with Polymaker, so that we wouldn't have to pull PETG production ourselves. But literally, it's just a question of release and time. Like, it does not take a lot to add PETG to Tangled, to sell PETG filament to people, but it does take a lot of ongoing effort that we then have to commit to. And while Tangled is behind on shipments, we don't want to add a new feature, because it just introduces low-grade suck into the product and expands it without making it better. So, and we're not keeping up with the demand on there already for our black PLA, so we're not going to add in more things to do until we get ahead of that. Question, does the pricing on Teleport change the currency of the country you are set in? Should be now. There was an early bug at the release of Teleport to where pricing was showing as USD, even though it had been converted into local currency. So like, I'm going to say pesos. Pesos would show up as like 480 pesos, but it's whatever the conversion rate. I don't want to do a bad conversion rate. I'm going to say a peso is 50 cents. So it was $200 to print the order, but it would show up as $480 because the symbol was off. That bug has been fixed, so you should have accurate local currency presentation in Teleport. If not, let us know. If it's a wild, egregious cost, it's showing you the wrong thing. It's not. We definitely calculate it in USD, but it is converted back into local currency. We use Stripe as our primary payment backend. So they take care of that magic, so we don't have to. But there was a moment there where we had the wrong symbol presenting in the front end. Should be fixed now, so yes. Short answer, Teleport should be showing you your local currency cost. If it's wild and egregious, like more than $40 USD or more than $50 US, there's a problem. And there's a bug, please let us know. There's a question mark over on the side. Click on that, send us a message. We're getting back to messages fast, guys. Actually, within the last week or so, most messages, support messages are getting answered in about under 24 hours. I'm very proud of everybody for that, and the team for getting that around. Thanks for answering. No, that's, sorry, I searched question, and that's a different question. Question, I am concerned about the glass particles coming out of the plastic and being an environmental issue in my house. Is this actually a valid concern? No, but yes. I don't know what the emissivity of glass particles is, but they're a wild, very inert type of particle compared to other types. You don't want to go huff a pile of them, but glass beads are not nearly as carcinogenic or destructive as, say, carbon fiber shards. I am not an expert. This is not health advice. This is not the situation. I haven't done the requisite biological testing of glass-filled filaments in order to do that. That all being said, the fears about the emissivity of 3D printers are wildly overhyped. compared to what you are exposed to on a daily basis walking down a sidewalk or on a dusty day. So I want to get in your own head about it. It doesn't bother me. There we go. There, we get it down to my opinion. Doesn't bother me. Question. I've tried to 3D print MagSafe phone stands, but have found that over time it gets progressively weaker. Would you consider including an adhesive, or do you have a suggestion for stopping from having a weak pressure connection over time? We are going to start including adhesives. Inside of Teleport, you can include third-party parts like wireless charging pucks and lights and that kind of stuff. We will be including... we've been meaning to get effectively command strips added and some certain like adhesive dots and that kind of thing for this reason. The reason it gets soft is because plastic has creep. So if you press something into a plastic part, the plastic will eventually kind of release itself and adjust to the shape of the part because plastic isn't actually truly solid. We will be adding adhesives to the things. You just have to design around them really carefully. Question. At the moment, Teleport is optimized for a 100% 3D printed part, printed in one piece. 100% 3D printed part. It doesn't have to be printed in one piece. You can upload multiple STLs and parts and pieces that are all printed in different colors and then assembled. If a company wants to do assembly themselves, as more parts are required, the Teleport JIT model somewhat falls down as it's optimized to sell to customers directly. Do you envision changes to support a more supplier-based model in the future, or do you expect that to be more for companies, or for other companies? Teleport is a fulfillment technology, and 85% of consumer products, 85% of consumer products that are plastic-based can be manufactured with FDM 3D printing in its current technology 3 years ago. That's the fundamental truth that we operate from. To your point about requiring more assembly. Assembly in the just-in-time model is phenomenally difficult because it requires precise communication from the customer, or a phenomenally difficult UI experience that we don't know how to build right now because no one has ever built something like that before. The biggest challenge with Teleport is QC when people can feed you infinity. The quality control for a cookie cutter is different from a quality control for an aerospace part. If we allow you to also include a PCB that has to be installed just so, some human has to do that because a robot will never be able to for a very long time. I don't care what Elon's got cooking. So for the foreseeable future, no, we don't see this in Teleport because it's a phenomenally difficult manufacturing problem. Now, here's the thing. 3D printing on demand is a phenomenally difficult manufacturing problem. We don't have it solved, but we got it on the run. So will we be able to include PCBs and that kind of stuff? Yes, but it'll be like an evolution of third-party parts to where we will start to allow us to install those third-party parts. So like right now, if you have a wireless charger, we print the charger part and we include the puck, and then you have to communicate to your customer how to put them together. We may be able to introduce design constraints on designers to where you can design a charging puck in a very specific way, and if you design it in this very specific way that enables a certain type of assembly, we can have an assembly line there for that. But again, that implementation is just stupidly hard, and we don't have a good handle on it to roadmap it even right now. Question, 95A TPU rough timeline. The material is growing in popularity as people discover how widely its application can be applied towards. I would dare say most products going through Teleport would be slightly better. TPU is a fantastic material. 95A is not nearly hard enough. We need to get up to like a 90D. Basically ABS hard. The only one who made this material was Essentium. They had a 60D anti-static TPU, which was absolutely fantastic because it was hard as a hard hat when you printed it. We have been requesting manufacturers to make hard TPU for years because it is a perfect replacement for PETG and PCTG and ABS and ASA and all the rest of it. TPU is better than all those materials. Except for one thing. It absorbs more water out of the air. TPU is unstable in a humid environment. I don't know how to decrease the hygroscopy of TPU. That's the problem it's got. As far as when we produce it, I would like to do it sooner rather than later. I think many of the problems of it can be solved by having a high content of glass in it to where you're using it for its adhesive nature, but you get increased rigidity from the glass fill. No one's done this, and the reason is because mixing the glass with the TPU is kind of hard, and they don't necessarily want to sit in suspension. So extrusion of it can be hard because you get variable density of the glass in it. But there's a way to get it done. I don't have a timeline for it. We got a lot of work to do in other places. Question, how does auto ejection work if a start line is required? At least for most printers, they always have a small filament line at the start to prevent weirdness at the beginning of prints. What makes slant printers different? So the things that make slant 3D printers different is a bunch when it comes to auto ejection. The slant boxes were designed for auto ejection right from the very start. That was the very first innovation that we made. In fact, we made that innovation before Slant 3D was even a separate company. We perfected auto ejection like 2017. Long before it was on YouTube or around or in the community or anything else. We were producing thousands of parts with auto ejection. The bigger challenge with auto ejection is around bed adhesion and the materials involved in that. There's a lot we did there. The start line is not the problem. The way of dealing with the start line is you effectively design a mouse ear or a tail into the part that serves as the purge line or the starting point. And this can be really useful when you know where the seam is going to be because it will start at that. You basically have a part right here sitting on the bed, and you take a little tag, design a little CAD tag off the side so that it goes and prints over here for a second, and this piece doesn't matter, and then it gets into their main part and starts growing it. So that's basically how you do that most effectively so that the purge line goes off with the part and is removed with a single snip. Question, the gray filament is nasty for many reasons, but on that note, in your experience, what is the best filament color-wise with regard to precision and flow control? Black, black. Every other color has some level of titanium dioxide in it in order to get the light color. Black is purely carbon black. And the difference between carbon black and titanium dioxide colorant is the size of my fist versus the size of a pencil eraser. Titanium dioxide is this big, carbon black is that size. That is why black is so much better for precision parts rather than white or gray or light colored parts. Go into light blue, so on and so forth. All of them, black is the most controlled flow because it has the least amount of particulate in it. Question, but not really suggestion. For the price to estimates, deliver a table instead of a guesstimate. Oh, yeah. This might be deployed in Teleport right now. We were working on this list last week. The suggestions around doing pricing, quite frankly, guys, I can't believe we didn't think about this. Show the price range for the parts rather than an estimated price next to the parts. Oh, what a good idea. So that's what we did. We implemented it. When we introduce carbon fiber, you will know that part could cost somewhere between $2 and $200. If you pick carbon fiber, it's $200. If you pick whatever, PLA cheapo, it's $2. And that way we can give you instant price range estimate without having you to have to go through the whole pricing, matching, to a prototyper, that kind of stuff. So that's being implemented because it's a really good idea and something we should have thought of, and we did it. But now it's going to be there, and then I'll take credit for it a few months from now. Why would you focus on expanding pre-printing and warehousing? Isn't that directly against your mantra of the shelves make the product? Wouldn't it then just be the machines make the product right next to the shelves? No. Here's the thing, guys. If we're building, what this question is referring to, if there is a product that is very popular, the system identifies that product is very popular and overproduces it so that some of them are sitting on shelves. so that when the order comes in, it can ship immediately rather than waiting for the time of printing. This is not against our mantra at all, because we're still not producing 10,000 parts. We're producing 1 or 10 or maybe 100 for really popular parts that move thousands of units per month. But that allows us to reduce the shipping time. For us to put a print farm inside of an Amazon warehouse, you have to ship effectively same day. But we know how much demand there is. And in fact, we know more about how much demand there is because all the teleport users together, we know that, oh, cookie cutters spike at this time, and oh, shenanigans spark on that time, and oh, lamps spike at this time. So using that sales data, we are able to prepare ahead of time so that your orders ship faster and your customers get your orders sooner. This is one of the powers of teleport, is that we get this crowdsourced information that allows us to make it even better. The more people that use teleport, the more useful it is to them. It's a very interesting phenomena. Not to mention like the scaling factors and that kind of thing of like, oh, a lot of people make black. Well, now we can buy more black and we can make it cheaper so that the cost for making black parts is cheaper so that people can sell more black parts. And so the wheel turns. But the limited warehousing that we do is to make sure that when an order comes in, rather than waiting the 1 to 24 hours for a part to print, the part can just be grabbed and then thrown right into a box. So we, as a fulfillment service, can fulfill instantly. And that's just good. That's just an obvious expansion. And that does not break any part of it because the shelves are still making the product. We're just putting a control buffer inside of there to create a better experience. Because 3D printing will always take some amount of time to grow the part. But if you know that part is going to sell 10 copies tomorrow, why not make the 10 copies tonight? Rather than waiting for the sale to show up tomorrow. Yes, there will be waste in that sometimes, but there is waste within the operation of any manufacturing. And if you want an example of this, about 25% of the Star Wars toys put on the shelves at retail at Christmas go unsold. This is way better than that, because it's not 25% that we would ever hold on shelves that would potentially get rejected. So no, it's perfectly reasonable for us to do that because it just radically improves the customer and user experience because stuff ships fast. Question, when will tutorial videos be coming out for the new teleport? That's a fair question. The response to the new teleport has been very positive, so we have not had time to be knocking out all of those. Also, we've been trying to get new hosts lined up, and I would like new hosts to be able to practice on those teleport tutorials. So they'll be coming out in the near future, but people also haven't needed them because the new version of teleport is quite intuitive and getting more so. So we've been focusing on just kind of condensing and cleaning that up to where people are able to wander through it. And much of it is led along by the nose pretty well. Like the upgrades to it here with Teleport V2, just make it a lot handier. But yes, more videos will be coming out. Most of them will be small, like snippet 30-second videos that are like a demo of like how to match multiple parts. By the way, thing I want to emphasize, you can absolutely match multiple parts to a product inside of Teleport. This question comes up a bunch. People are like, I have a can and a cap, and I need to print them separately in different colors. Can I do that? Yes. You can upload as many files as you want and associate them with a product, so all of those files are printed to go with that product. Very easy. Okay. There was another question that must have been deleted, but I saw it. And it was about, is this dude on something? Did you take your meds? And I wanted to respond to this one for the simple fun of it and the fact that it's there. So I'm gonna timestamp this for folks. Is Gabe on his meds? So first of all, for anyone who's interested, I'm not on anything. I take a vitamin B12 supplement and an iron supplement. Vitamin B12 because I have a wildly high metabolism, and that's the energy vitamin, and I need it. And iron, because that's the oxygen vitamin that increases the blood flow to your brain. So I choose to take that because it helps improve me. And I'm medical history, I'm slightly anemic, so I also just have to eat red meat, and I have to take iron supplements, otherwise things start breaking down. But as opposed to what this all is, and the team will attest to this kind of stuff too, the energy is natural. I will admit that I eat more sugar than I probably should for a man of my age, because it might lead to a heart attack, or indeed, as some people have alluded, diabetes. But I don't care. I have been this way. Most people, I have an above average amount of energy. I have the metabolism of a horse, and that energy has to go somewhere, so it goes someplace. One of these days I need to run through my day, but like my day doesn't really count, and I don't want to explain that. I'm a very high energy person. It is not from the use of any substances, not even necessarily sugar. If I have a good night's sleep and that kind of stuff, I don't use sugar at all. I do not drink coffee at all. I hate this stuff. It's never been good for me. It doesn't do anything for me. Coffee actually can have the inverse effect on me and actually make me drowsy. I'm not on anything. I do ascribe to the idea about food and diet and that kind of stuff. I eat very healthfully. While I do eat a lot of sugar because I enjoy it, the rest of the time I have a very simple diet. My philosophy on diet and that kind of stuff is eat like a poor man, live like a caveman. That's basically how I approach health. If you are buying something very expensive, which means takeout food, packaged food, that kind of stuff, if you're paying a premium for like food, you're probably eating something unhealthy. Because quite frankly, good wholesome fruits and vegetables and good foods are cheaper than McDonald's. Like you can go to Costco and buy good quality hamburger. Like a McDonald's Happy Meal costs whatever, $8. Like 10 pounds of beef chuck from a Costco, it's $5 a pound. So $25. So for 3 Happy Meals, you can feed like 6 people a hamburger for 2 meals. 2 meals. So the idea that like good food is too expensive is incorrect. It takes time to prepare, but good food is very easy to get. I eat a lot of chicken. I eat a lot of base vegetables and that kind of stuff. I'm a very simple person. I do not like variety in my diet. I eat the exact same thing every single day. I open up my day. I eat a bowl of fruit. And then during lunch, I very often skip lunch. I very often skip breakfast. I'm a big dinner sort of a person. But breakfast will at least be a bowl of fruit most of the time. Something for lunch. If I'm having a high energy day where I'm moving around a lot and not just doing cognitive desk work, then I have been known to have a tub of cream cheese and saltine crackers, and I will empty the sleeve of saltines, scooping out cream cheese, which equates to basically a half a tablespoon of cream cheese per saltine. The reason I do that is because the cream cheese is pure fat. And I need that because I'm a reasonably skinny guy, despite my relatively large stature. That's that. And then for dinner, it's like pasta, vegetables, and like chicken or beef or something like that. So like my dinner would be what some stupid Instagram model would eat that's just stupid, irritating, and pretentious. My stuff's not pretentious. I just cook it because it's quick and easy. And I eat the same thing. I don't like surprises. I love rhythm. I really love rhythm. And my entire diet right now has been engineered to keep me alive. And I have gone through pronounced deficiencies in the past. There was a period where I I wasn't vegetarian, but I was darn close. And I was not eating enough red meat, and that manifested in a not healthy way to where I was like, okay, I have to. For me, in order to continue to exist, I have to eat a hamburger at least once a week. If I don't, something starts breaking down. And that is very likely partially from a cattle ranch where I was raised on beef and potatoes and that kind of thing. I'm a ranch kid. I have to have that. And if I don't, just the whole system breaks down. But beyond that, no, I don't use anything. I don't use any substances. Even when I'm in pain, I can't remember the last time I took a Tylenol. I don't like messing with this stuff because each time you use one of those things, its effectiveness kind of wears off. So I don't want to have to pop 20 Tylenol when I have a headache, when I really want to get away from it. And I certainly don't want to pop sleeping pills to go to sleep or anything else like that. I am phenomenally ADHD. So it is very, very difficult to sleep, and I am an insomniac. But all of those I've been able to find naturalistic ways of going about, which come from rhythm and structure. So I don't like changing stuff because change is mainly the thing that will make me go crazy. And I stay away, I stay away from the substances, both professionally from doctors and operationally. Again, on like the health side, I don't even really drink alcohol. I maybe drink 1 beer a week because I prefer the social norm. People get nervous when you hold water around them if you're standing at the bar. And I don't mind beer. I don't like beer, but I'm not going to drink a ton of it. However, the one thing with alcohol that I will say here publicly, if I was a person who drank alcohol on the regular, or if I kept it around with me, I have the personality type and the phenotype that would be a raging alcoholic. There's plenty of alcoholism in my family and that kind of thing, but again, the way my brain works and the obsessive kind of nature of it, if I have a gallon of ice cream, if I have a pint of ice cream, I'm not going to eat a spoonful. I'm going to eat the whole thing. If I had a pack of beers, I'm going to drink all of them. Like that is the thing. I have a personality of excess and extremes. So if the wrong thing is near to me, I will do it to an extreme. So I try to keep good things around me. Going back to the whole sugar thing, I refuse to buy a 1 pint Dr. Pepper because you can buy a Dr. Pepper that's chilled out at the checkout line for $2.75, or you can go buy a liter bottle for $2.50 that's room temperature and you put it in the fridge. The economics of that just drive me crazy. So I buy the liter bottle, but then I have a whole liter that I can chug on. But again, with like sugar and the health of it all, I believe that the stress of abstinence, extreme abstinence on that stuff, creates more damage than the indulgence. So if it makes me miserable to say I can't drink Dr. Pepper because I'm on a diet of whatever else it was, that consternation is actively increasing my cortisol levels and causing damage to my body. Whereas if I'm like, Dr. Pepper, that's pretty good, and then throw it away to the side and seal it off and hand it off or get it out of my face so that my extreme ADHD personality doesn't want more, that's the way to deal with it. So that's how I regulate my intake of substances and food in order to maintain this energy level. I don't like the medication much. I've seen what it's done to friends, and they're less. It's an active slowdown of things that can be gifts once you know how to use them. So it's very difficult to wrangle parts of my personality. And yeah, it creates bags under the eyes once in a while when you have a brainstorm at 1 a.m. But again, once you learn to manage that stuff and create systems to where you can get broken out of those cycles, things like meditation or just like breathing, where you focus on something very simple to get yourself out of the spiral and the chaos of that, it's very survivable through naturalistic means. So I am not a naturalistic type of person. If I break a leg, I'm going to a doctor and I want them to put screws in my thing. But chemically and cognitively, keep your diet simple so that you don't have external chemical behavioral changes. And that seems to work. Well, that works for me. I don't know what anybody else needs to do. But no, not on drugs. I'm just this way. I am just this way and have been for the last 15, 30 years or so. Yeah. Because, yeah. Just the way it is. Okay, that's more than a long enough podcast. That's like an hour and a half long. That's all good. Hopefully you guys got something good from it. If you have questions that you want me to answer on podcast one of these days, go ahead and comment down below, question, whatever your question is. If you don't follow the rule, I don't have to answer the question, and we won't be able to find them. So question, whatever your question is, and we will try to answer them at the next podcast. If there's other topics that you want us to cover on the channel in general, bring them up, and we will take a look at them. Other than that, have a great week, everybody, and I'll see you at the next one. Have a great day, everybody.